Hello, everybody. Welcome to Macaron's funeral. Yesterday, Macaron got her booster shot, and now she's kind of dead because her brain cells were kind of lacking to begin with.
Anti-vaxxers, this does not mean you should not get vaccinated. Wait, vaccinated. Same thing. All right. So today we have a very dreamy topic, and we're not discussing James Dean or anything.
You got that, James?
Okay. So, anyways, we will now be introducing dream origins theories to you.
After that, we'll be bringing back our lovely productivity corner and doing a part 2 to toxic productivity.
Let's get started.
So, first of all, the whole concept of a dream is kind of whack. Just to put it all under a big umbrella, a dream is the images, thoughts, emotions that you experience when you're sleeping. You have probably heard of like REM sleep, or is it pronounced REM? That's when like most of your vivid dreams occur. There are also non-REM dreams, but you mostly remember the REM ones. And that's interesting because during REM sleep, your brain activities are actually close to the activity levels when you're awake. And I'm sure lots of you are familiar with the wide range of possibilities in dreams, like nonsensical dreams to complete like stories that like make total sense. You always dream for 2 hours every night, but sometimes you just don't remember. So that just suggests that dreaming is something part of the vital human sleep experience. I think the reason why dreams are so mysterious is because it's kind of hard to like scientifically study dreams. Usually they just have the subject retell their dream, but like what if they don't remember? And then there have been studies where you can objectively study dreams, but I think it's still a pretty like rudimentary method where you have a dream content map that employs MRI patterns to track people's dreams, and I'm not entirely sure how this technology works, but I think it's probably something like your brain waves or something that you emit when you're dreaming, and then they could track that. Macaron,
Okay.
shall
Yes.
you get us started with the first dream origin theory, the Sigmund Freud theory? This
Use
one is a classic theory.
yes. It's basically the theory that dreams kind of represent unconscious desires, thoughts, fulfillment, and motivations. So, like, you know, whenever I have like weird dreams, I kind of like look it up, and everyone's like, this means that subconsciously you want this in your life. And I'm like, okay. So I think it's basically comes from this theory, like dreams reflect the unconscious desires and stuff like that. So Sigmund Freud wrote Interpretation of Dreams, where he basically wrote that dreams are quote unquote disguised fulfillments of repressed wishes. And this basically plays into like how like the word dream can also mean fantasies, because like I mean your fantasy is basically your desired wish, like a desire or a wish or something like that that's kind of like out of reach. And often like dreams can kind of I mean, how many of you had dreams that like you won some I have had dreams where I like won something or something like that, and it's not even like an unconscious desire, like I obviously want to win this, like this competition or something. So I feel like it's kind of like that, like it's like a fantasy, except that's what like Sigmund Freud described it as, at least. And according to Freud, dreams have two
Fried
components. You
Freud.
can hear my brain's malfunctioning today. But yes, dreams have two components, basically, like the latent content, which is like the hidden meaning of the dream, and then the manifest content, which is the actual images, the latent content, and like literally like manifests, um, probably from your unconscious desires, you know? And like lots of Freud's claims have been debunked or dismissed by many people, but researchers do believe that thought suppression increases your chances of dreaming of that thought, and this effect is called dream rebound theory. Like, I'm gonna give a quick example. We participate in a lot of science competitions, and like I tried to like not get my hopes up about winning, so I like kind of pushed it down. And like literally that day, I get a dream about winning. Just saying, I could kind of believe it a little because like this happens all the time to me.
Did we
But like, yeah,
win? Did we end up winning that time?
uh, I think it was either yeah, I think we did.
I find this theory kind of strange because if this is your unconscious desires when you're dreaming, but when you're dreaming, your like brain activity levels are like close to what they are when they're awake. So you're like kind of close to conscious. So I don't know if it really makes sense that it's unconscious or if
Mm,
like your unconscious being active just really looks like your consciousness being active as well.
that's fair. But I feel like maybe because you're in like REM sleep, it's like you kind of confront things that you don't really have like the mental ability when you're sleeping to like kind of push down, you know? Like maybe that's why it's like things that like fantasies you don't really like you try not to think about because all they're fantasies, they're not really real when you're awake. Like maybe when you're in a dreaming in a REM sleep, you don't really have like the rational thinking. So that's maybe why you get like nonsensical dreams about stuff that you like tried to forget or tried to like suppress or stuff like that. I don't know. So I kind of view it as, you know.
Oh yeah, that kind of goes nicely with the next theory, which is the activation synthesis model first proposed by J. Allen Hobson and Robert McCarley. And this model says that the amygdala and the hippocampus in your brain. They're parts of your brain. I hope you guys know that. Are triggered by brain circuits that get activated during REM sleep. And then this causes the amygdala and the hippocampus to generate electrical impulses that cause random thoughts, images, memories, etc. But
Uh, can you like
there's,
tell like what the amygdala and the hippocampus do?
oh,
Like
you guys
the
don't
amygdala.
know that? I'm so disappointed in
I know, right?
humanity. I'm
Me
kidding.
too.
Go ahead.
But like the amygdala is a part of the brain um, commonly thought to like to form the core and neural system for processing like fearful and threatening stimuli, and that basically includes detection of like threat and like fear-related behaviors in response to this threat, you know. And the hippocampus is a more complex brain structure embedded into the temporal lobe, and like the temporal lobe is like how do I describe it? Like it's kind of like near the top of your head, and it has a major role in like learning and memory. So that's why like this is the processing information, and like it is it's very plastic and like a vulnerable structure that gets a lot of damage. But like that's irrelevant. Yes, that
Yeah,
basically.
so this activation synthesis model says that dreams are meant to help you process information because this is the interesting part. So when you're dreaming, this imagery is totally random, makes no sense. But after you wake up, your conscious mind takes all of these fragments and then it like weaves it into some sort of cohesive story. And it's just like finding connections between all these random pieces of information. And I think that's why you like have these like random ideas or like epiphanies from your dreams.
Okay, so the third theory that we want to talk about is that dreams aid in memory. And they basically come from like two interconnected theories, like the information processing theory and the self-organization theory. The information processing theory just basically states that dreaming is a byproduct or active step in processing the information and memories, whereas the self-organization theory is that memories getting consolidated during sleep create dreams as a byproduct. And so basically memories get shuffled around in your subconscious. And then also that dreaming causes helpful memories to become stronger and less helpful ones to get weaker. Research that supports the self-organization theory says that like people perform better on complex tasks if they dream about them first. And this ties into like the popular consensus or whatever that sleep improves memory. And your brain has electrical fluctuations called brain waves, and these, which are like measured by EEGs, and these waves have different frequencies depending on what you're doing, like beta, alpha, delta, etc. waves. When you're learning, storing, and remembering information, the theta waves, which is like a frequency of 4 to 8 hertz, they're more active and in the frontal lobe of your brain. And the same thing happens when you dream, so that suggests that you are also learning while you're dreaming.
Wow, learning is everywhere. Everybody should pay attention in school.
Uh-oh, calling me out here. I'm kidding.
Wait a minute. So that was like two dreaming for learning sort of theories. But then there's also a lot of about creativity. The creativity theory of dreaming says that when you're dreaming, your mind is free from the burdens of reality, right? So this freedom allows your unconscious mind to be totally unconstrained, and it's just gonna wander the limitless potential of its imagination. And that sort of explains why your dreams are so like fantastical sometimes, and this sparks creativity for you, and you have great aha moments, and then you finally realize that, oh no, I didn't do my algebra homework. Okay, that's not creativity, but there was a time I dreamed of my algebra final, and I was like, oh shoot, I haven't studied yet.
That's
Yeah.
lucky. Oh my gosh. Was it like the day after or something?
No, no, it was like a week, no, 2 weeks or something before. And so
Okay.
basically, the difference between the creativity theory of dreaming and the activation synthesis model earlier is that in the creativity dreaming theory, you are using your unconscious mind to make all these connections and explorations. But in activation synthesis, it's your conscious mind doing that. So, which one do you guys believe? I don't know.
Going back to some theories that are just more popular in the modern world, um, and this is like the theory that dreams basically reflect your life.
The continuity hypothesis.
Basically says that like dreams are kind of like a collection of memory fragments instead of playing the conscious experiences in order. Memories, according to the continuity hypothesis, might be fragmented to basically help incorporate them into a long-term memory storage. And this kind of like also ties into like non-REM versus REM. Like non-REM might be for strengthening declarative memory, which is basically remembering facts or like events or stuff that happen in your life, basically. And on the other hand, though, like REM might be more attached to emotional memories, like feelings and emotions, and like recreating that in your dream. And non-REM dreams seem harder to remember than REM dreams because, like, I think a lot of the times we like for things that happened a long time ago, we kind of like we don't remember the exact details of the event. We instead basically remember the emotion and like the stuff that we felt, and like like that's why writers like focus on emotion. They don't really focus as much sometimes on details. So.
Yeah, the details of dreams are like easy to forget. But like sometimes I just wake up and I remember like this like general feeling that I had from the dream, but I can't remember what happened. Um so that was like the deep like your dreams are your life theory. But then there's just the theory that dreams are an evolutionary advantage to humans. This is called the primitive instinct rehearsal and adaptive strategy theories. And this is
Whoever
just
named these theories are like so why? Just why?
because science, and maybe they're just as brain dead as you.
Uh-oh.
So basically, dreams help us prepare for the dangers of the real world by simulating a safe environment for the dreamer to receive threats and then practice your survival skills. Wow. And this helps explain why your dreams might have like dramatic, scary experiences, like getting chased, or like falling off a cliff, or forgetting to study for a final exam. Very relatable. But I wonder if this applies to other animals. The articles that I read just seem to say that it's an evolutionary advantage specifically for humans. So I thought that was strange. Maybe the plants dream too. We just don't know it. Who's gonna put an EEG on a plant? Maybe I should.
You should. That can be your ISCF project. What
Oh my
happens when you.
god.
Oh my
Watch
god,
me
I'm a
get like
genius. Better get credit now,
brain.
coffee.
You want credit? Watch me get brain dead signals from that plant.
Oh god.
Okay,
Okay.
last theory
Yes.
about processing emotions. So far we've got like survival instincts, reflecting your life, creativity, and just pretty much your unconscious memories processing information. But you know what else you can process? Emotions.
Emotions. Yes. So this is like kind of similar to the primitive instinct rehearsal theory, but basically for emotions. And like this is called the emotional regulation dream theory, where it says that dreams basically provide a safe space for you to handle your emotions and process your emotions is emotions that are harder for you to like process while you are awake and thinking more, you know? And this explains why dreams often include emotional and very like traumatic experiences for people. And support for this theory says that like apparently like the amygdala and hippocampus, which we talked about earlier, they are actually active um, during these vivid, intense dreams where you like feel all this emotion and stuff. Um, and the amygdala, remember, isn't involved in emotion processing. So that basically shows like why we like feel so much in dreams, you know. And then the hippocampus is rather important for condensing information and moving like short-term like information to long-term information, like the whole memory thing that we just talked about. And some studies have even shown the correlation between someone's emotional processing ability, their ability to like just handle emotions in daily life, to the amount of REM sleep they get. Because then in the REM sleep, they might be processing these emotions, so they have a, a better like sense of emotion processing when they actually wake up. You know. Maybe that's why teenagers are so like they can't process their emotions because we just get so less sleep that like we don't have enough REM sleep, and that we just end up like not being able to process and like process all of our sorry voice crack process our like emotions when we actually wake up. So like
So school makes us not sleep and indirectly makes us stupid.
yes,
Wow.
exactly. We don't have like the
Emotionally,
ability to remember as much because our hippocampuses aren't working overtime during during REM. So
honestly, I personally think that this seventh theory, helping process emotions, might actually be true. Or maybe all of them are true. I don't know. I feel like dreams have like components that could support all of these theories. But like for like processing emotions, I think that makes a lot of sense. I would like explain like I don't know, crying in your dreams, crying in your sleep, like in real life, or like screaming or like sleep talking. But I think that
yeah.
makes sense.
I
But
think they're all kind of true to some extent, you know? Like most of them at
yeah,
least.
I think if we ever find the reason for dreams, it'll probably be a blend of all of these theories because dreams, I mean, nobody said dreams had to just have one function. But Macaron has an interesting dream to share with y'all.
Yes. Okay, so this dream happened in sixth grade. So in sixth grade, we were learning about in world history in our history class. We were learning about Mesopotamia and Egypt, and we were like in the Egypt unit, right? And so the Mesopotamia unit we just finished. So in this dream, the first it's so vivid, it's so weird. Like I wake up in like sorry, like when I'm my the first memory of this dream is I'm in a completely white room. Like it's like clay and like painted white. And there's like I have like I'm wearing modern clothes and like modern I have a modern luggage and stuff and I'm trying to put myself in the closet. Suddenly, King Tut here walks into my room and tells me I'm fired from being his senior advisor. So now it's clearing up for me. I am King Tut's senior advisor. I had just been fired, and apparently King Tut's like palace or whatever is completely white. So apparently I was like drugged and like put into exile. So I was just like left. The next thing I remember is I'm like awake in this like in the desert, in the middle of the desert. I don't know what's happening. I'm like starving and stuff, and then eventually Cleopatra comes riding in on these horses. Obviously, this is not historically accurate. Like the time periods and stuff are definitely not historically accurate or anything. Like even like the technologies and stuff aren't accurate. But Cleopatra comes like riding in on her horse and like chariot and stuff, and has these like helpers, and she like saves me. She takes me, gives me water, gives me food, and then takes me to Mesopotamia, where I meet King Hammurabi. So King Hammurabi so Hammurabi, you know, he was a king of Babylon, quite a powerful kingdom in Mesopotamia, right? And so I was talking to Hammurabi, right? We were chatting it up, and then we eventually Hammurabi decides that he just doesn't really like me, so he puts me in a cell, right? Because apparently I was not nice to him, and Cleopatra just doesn't care anymore. She's left. So King Hammurabi, like you know, like the if anyone has taken world history and like learned about Mesopotamia and Egypt and stuff, they know about the Mr. Nicky um song to like the song what's it called? Like it was I forgot what the song's name was called, but like it was like the Euphrates River song. And it went like Euphrates River to the Euphrates River to the Euphrates River and you know so part of the like second verse was Hammurabi saying you obey Hammurabi's code, praise Hammurabi's code, break Hammurabi's code, and you'll be saying, oh no, right? That he's Hammurabi saying that to me while I was in the cell, right? So he was just like, "You obey Hammurabi's code, praise Hammurabi's code, break Hammurabi's code," and you'll be saying, "Oh no!" And I try to escape, right, through like weird like cracks in the floor, but I can't. And eventually, Hammurabi's soldier has had enough, and he basically burns the palace, and I wake up.
The soldier.
Yes,
All hail the soldier.
I know, right? I was like suffering here in this prison for Hammurabi's slaves or whatever the heck he decides to do with this prison. It was so funny though. I think like I don't know. I don't remember if Cleopatra also sang the song to me, but I know that Hammurabi definitely did. And so
Romeo Romeo
yes.
and Juliet reference. You are in Friar Lawrence's cell.
Oh my God, Romeo and Juliet. I should like actually read that. I don't know. Anyways, um,
No, you should watch it. Don't read it. Watch watch the watch the 1990s like Leonardo DiCaprio version. Watch it and laugh your head off because it's so strange. It's like people with guns and like I don't know what kind of cars they had in the 1990s or whatever. But like those like old cars and then they were all talking in Shakespearean
that's so
language.
stupid.
And
What?
it's just like hilarious. Speaking of Shakespeare, there's also A Midsummer Night's Dream, which is dreams. Wow, look, we're back on topic. But it's
Oh
time
my
to
God!
switch.
Wow, so smooth.
But now it's time to switch to the productivity corner. I hope you have nice dreams tonight. If you don't, I'm not responsible for anything. Okay, so we'll be talking about toxic productivity, which is what we already discussed before in episode 5. So let us recap that since it's been a while.
So, Um, let's first recap part one of our toxic productivity series. Now, I guess we just 2 installments count as a series. Who cares? It does now. I don't care. Yes. Okay. So, what really is toxic productivity? So, unless you're like in the productivity world, you probably like not really that familiar with the concept. So toxic productivity is basically this unhealthy desire to basically to be productive at all times and all costs. Like as we mentioned, it's like to be productive even when you have to spend time with your family, even when you have to like have a social life, and like eat healthy and like exercise. You have to do all these things in your life. Like toxic productivity is like the need to be perfect and to like do all of it, without taking a break.
Yeah, so in episode 5, we also discussed some ways to prevent toxic productivity, and that included accounting for inevitable setbacks and taking the time for things that are beyond your work necessities, like social time, family time, eating, and really understanding that taking breaks is productive for you in the long term because you don't want to get burnt out.
Yep. So,
So why we wanted to make this second installment, because the both of us have like personally crossed over the next hurdle in the journey, and we sort of had new epiphanies about realizations about toxic productivity. And I think the main um, realization that we had is that perfection itself is not really perfect. These are Macaron's words, and it's just so nice, sums it up very nicely. Perfection itself is not really perfect because toxic productivity comes from the unrealistic expectation that you always have to be perfect. But this perfect doesn't account other aspects of your lives. And if you think about it, it's technically being imperfect because you're only focusing on being productive and neglecting other parts of your lives. And sometimes trying your best doesn't mean that you're perfect, because that's just how it is. You can try your best and you can still fail, but you can try again. That's like the whole experience, right, Macaron?
yeah, exactly, precisely. Uh, so I would describe life as a weird looking graph. Like, how do I explain it? Like, like the graphs that like you're gonna have like you're gonna keep going up for a while, and like you can't expect yourself to like never go down and climb back up to a higher point. Like that weird like those statistical graphs that kind of go zigzaggy, but like eventually end up in a higher point than it started, right? So that's what I mean by like life is a weird looking graph. So it's getting to a point of like balance in your life is very difficult, right? Like trying to figure out how much you should contribute to your social life, to your family, to yourself, while also staying productive to some level that you are not completely abandoning everything that you worked for. Like you can like sometimes just have an epiphany and think that like, oh my gosh, what am I really doing this for? Like why am I contributing so much? Why am I working so hard and I haven't gotten any results yet? Like you kind of sometimes, I mean, like at least I have that feeling sometimes, like not necessarily that I'm like maybe that I'm not getting good enough results, like I'm not placing well enough in a science competition, or I'm like don't have time to work on all of the things that I want to work on. Like I have 5 competitions coming up, like four or something like that, and like it's like it will take a toll on your mental health, um, when you like realize you have so much to do. And like I personally, I put like an unrealistic amount of things on my to-do list. Like, how am I supposed to watch 7 Khan Academy videos, research on like 15 diseases, uh, do research for the podcast, and then like also like figure out like go to my math class and like do my math homework and like all of that stuff and do my regular school homework in one day? Because like obviously when I counted up, like I made this that was my to-do list yesterday, right? And I made it like it was like when I counted it today morning, like how much I actually scheduled for myself yesterday, it was 7 hours of work. on a Saturday. The point here is that you can't like expect yourself to do all of that, and like you have to kind of learn that, like, as we said in the last episode, that taking a break is productive, and like you can't set these unrealistic expectations of yourself, because then you're just gonna kind of crash and burn really quick, even if you kind of know that you're never going to complete everything on your to-do list, which I like kind of told myself yesterday. But I'm like, that still makes me feel bad that I can't like do all of the work that I need to do for all of the things that I'm signed up for. So I guess we kind of make that balance. That's making sense.
Yeah, I think part of breaking away from toxic productivity is understanding that life isn't a linear line graph that's just gonna keep going up and up and up, because it doesn't work like that. And you gotta, like, you go through a hard time and then you get over it, and then you have a new state that you're happy with, and then something imperfect shows up again, and then you gotta deal with that, and you just cycle through, and your productivity cycles with you. And honestly, don't worry if you can't understand all of this and break away from your toxic productivity, even just a little, quite yet, because sometimes you just have a lot of questions, like, why am I doing this? Do I really want to be doing this? What should I be doing? Like, these are all questions that I've been wondering. I still don't really have answers to. I think it's okay to not have answers, and it's okay to not be fulfilling everything that you signed up for, because you might be overcommitted. And I think we should all just trust that if we keep doing what we like, if we keep moving forward, then we can trust life to bring good things to us.
Wow, very well said. We do gotta
Thank
trust
you.
that life's gonna bring these good things to us. We gotta trust this graph that we've been talking about. And like we're talking about perfection too, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like um that being and doing your best is not necessarily perfect. Like you can it's like what you're doing your best at almost. Like you gotta be doing the best for you, and not what like someone else tells you is the best to get into this college or to win the competition, or like what your parents tell you even is like the best. You gotta like figure out what's best for you and follow the path to that. And at the same time, like kind of understanding yourself, and because like that's a whole it's like a discover you discover a lot about yourself when you're like trying to achieve a certain like tangible thing. um but like I feel like we sacrifice so much for a certain like path that we want to go on, not realizing that the path itself is not perfect. Like there are flaws in the system too. There are flaws everywhere, and like you kind of gotta make a distinction. And like as a student, it's kind of hard because like you can't escape. If you want to get into Stanford, for example, you can't really escape the things that they ask from you. But you gotta like figure out why you want to go, like why do you want to go to this college, and like figure out, like that's what I mean by like figuring out the path best for you, because it might not necessarily be what society tells you is the best path for you, just based on like what you portray to everyone else. Like I was recently, apparently someone told me that apparently everyone thinks that I am the super, like at school for some reason. I don't know how that's happened, but like everyone thinks that I'm like a super productive person who somehow gets sleep. And I have no idea. That's literally what they said to me. Like you're like my super productive friend that somehow gets sleep. And I'm like, that's not it's not true. Because like then like people like expect so much from you, and you've got to like realize that you don't have to like subscribe to these expectations.
Yeah, I've had similar experiences. Macaron has straight up told me, Coffee, you're superhuman. And I'm like, gee, thanks. I didn't know my DNA test results came back as superhuman.
Bro, seriously though, you are the most productive person that I know. Like the thing is, I know that like everyone has flaws. The thing is, people like told me like I was like trying to talk to my friend who's like uh and she because we were both doing the bio Olympiad, right? And she was telling me like I don't know how you do it all. You like have no flaws. And I'm like, hold up. And then she's like, but I guess you're a human too. I'm like, did you not think of me as human earlier? And I was so confused. Because like I don't know, because like you kind of tell everyone your your successes. I mean, I guess this only applies to like us or like people similar to us. But like you can't tell people like, oh yeah, I got this award, you know, and they kind of expect that from you every single time.
Yeah. So I guess just as a closing statement, I'll just say that we should try to make our productivity work for us instead of working for our productivity.
Nice. That's a good way of saying it. Oh my gosh, that's perfect. Good job, Coffee. I'm
Thank
very proud of
you.
you.
Now, Macaron, say the actual closing statement.
This concludes another The Warped Life Advice episode. Goodbye and have a good life.
Hey Siri, what's your favorite type of coffee?
Okay, here's what I found.
Um, Siri, what's your favorite type of coffee? Siri, hey Siri, hey Siri, play the chorus of Hurt Me by Lapsley. Hey Siri, hey Siri, oh my.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Coffee's funeral.